Hello and welcome to Fantasy Football by Ben. Today I'll be doing my 11 through 20 quarterbacks for this season. At number 11, I have Matthew Stafford. Matthew Stafford was traded this offseason to the Rams, and they have a very solid offense, and Sean McVay is a really good offensive coordinator, and I do think that Matthew Stafford will have a better season than he did last year, and so that's why I'm expecting higher hopes out of him this year, and I have him ranked 11th. I think he could be a little bit higher. He could have a really good season, but since he's on a new team, I don't really know what the system's going to be like through Matthew Stafford, so right now I have him ranked 11th. At number 12, I have the guy who is known as the GOAT in the NFL, and that is Tom Brady. I think Tom Brady will have a really good season. It's his second year in that offense, so I do think that really helps him. And he's got great weapons around him, and if Gronk has, like I was saying in my video yesterday, if Gronk has the whole season that he had near the end of the season, then I think that Tom Brady will be a really good quarterback and probably will be inside the top 10 in fantasy points scored for quarterbacks. If Gronk does that, and also if Mike Evans has a similar year he had last year, and Chris Godwin stays healthy the whole year. At number 13, this one's kind of interesting because I have Dak Prescott at number 13. I think if he comes back at the beginning of the year and he's playing as well as he was last year, he's definitely a top 3 quarterback, top 4 maybe. But I don't know if he's going to come back healthy right away or if he's going to start the season. I don't expect him to, but I don't know. And as of right now, I have him ranked number 13. But if they say before the season starts that he's coming back fully healthy, then he's definitely going to be inside my top 5 for sure. And so right now I have Dak Prescott at 13, but his talent, if he plays, is definitely inside the top 5. And that offense is going to be really good if Dak Prescott plays at the beginning of the year. At number 14, I have a guy that also has a lot of great weapons around him. And last year he was a rookie, so there's really not that much we can tell about the rookie. But I do think that Tua will have a better season going forward. And last year, he was fine. I don't think he was as good as Ryan Fitzpatrick, but he was fine. And so I do think that Tua will have a good season this year. They brought in Will Fuller. He still has Devontae Parker, and he's got Mike Gesicki. We don't know what they're going to draft yet. And so I do think that Tua could have a better year this year. And with him playing more in the offense and what Ryan Fitzpatrick taught him last year, I think that Tua could have a really good season this year. Number 15, I have another rookie, Jalen Hurts. The Eagles' offense really wasn't that great last year when Carson Wentz was the starting quarterback, and then Jalen Hurts came in, and he was a phenomenal quarterback, and he was outplaying what Carson Wentz was doing. And so if Jalen Hurts can keep up that pace, I think that he will be a really solid fantasy quarterback, and he runs the ball quite a bit, and he scores touchdowns rushing, and he's a solid enough passer where he'll get you fantasy points passing the ball. And so I do think that Jalen Hurts has a really high upside. I just don't know what that Eagles offensive line is going to be like this year, or offense in general. I don't know if they're going to draft wide receiver or if they're going to have Jalen Reagor be their number 1 wide receiver or what. I don't know how good Miles Sanders is going to be this year. Like I said, I don't know how good that offensive line is going to be to protect him. So I think that could be a big factor into how well Jalen Hurts does this season. At number 16, I have the ex-Eagle quarterback who is now a part of the Indianapolis Colts, Carson Wentz. So the Colts don't really have that great of a receiving core right now, but they have a really great offensive line, so that gives Carson Wentz more time in the pocket so he can throw deep balls to Michael Pittman Jr. And so I do think that Michael Pittman Jr. and honestly probably their tight ends, because they got some pretty solid tight ends last year that were stepping up, like Mo Alley Cox and Trey Burton. And Jack Doyle's pretty solid too. But I do think that, Carson Wentz in his career has targeted tight ends, and I do think that they are going to have a big role in the team, even if it's not like one tight end outshining other tight end. But I do think that Carson Wentz could have a really good season, and I have at number 16. I do think that he's going to be worse fantasy-wise than Jalen Hurts, but I don't know. If they draft a wide receiver, I think that they could be in really good shape with that offense. At number 17, I didn't really know which direction to go with the veteran or with the young guy who's still developing who got a good receiver in the offseason, and that's kind of where I went. I picked Daniel Jones. Daniel Jones is interesting because they added Kenny Golladay, who's a great deep ball receiver, and I don't really think Daniel Jones has a bad arm by any means, but I think he's a little bit inaccurate. But I think Kenny Golladay could help with that, and it was a great pickup for the Giants. And if Saquon Barkley's back, I think that's going to help Daniel Jones a lot because people are going to be worried about Saquon Barkley. And if his offensive line's good this year, then that will also help Daniel Jones. But I do think Daniel Jones will have a pretty good season. I'm at number 17, and I didn't really know if I should have ranked Matt Ryan, who I have at number 18, ahead of Daniel Jones or not. Matt Ryan has a lot of weapons. He's a great quarterback. He's been a great quarterback throughout his whole career, and so I do think that Matt Ryan at number 18 and Daniel Jones at 17 is a fair thing to say because, I mean, Daniel Jones has a lot of room to improve, and Matt Ryan's pretty much been at his peak for a while. And, I mean, I think Matt Ryan is kind of digressing, and I think Daniel Jones is going uphill. And so right now I ranked Daniel Jones a little bit ahead of Matt Ryan, one ahead of him. And I think that Matt Ryan, though, will have a great season, typical season for Matt Ryan, as long as he doesn't get hurt. And he still has Julio, he still has Calvin Ridley, and they have Hayden Hurst and Russell Gage. I think they have a good receiving group. I just don't know how good Matt Ryan will be this fantasy season. But I have him at number 18 nonetheless. So I do think that he's going to have a pretty solid season. I just don't know if it will be as good as Daniel Jones. And that's why I ranked Daniel Jones one ahead of him. At number 19, I ranked Baker Mayfield. Odell, I don't know if he's going to be back healthy. And last year, I mean, Baker Mayfield looked like he was playing really well once Nick Chubb came back because that took a lot of pressure off Baker Mayfield. And so I do think that Baker Mayfield, if Nick Chubb stays healthy and Kareem Hunt stays healthy, I think that Baker Mayfield will have a really great season. And, I mean, who knows if Odell will come back healthy or not. And Jarvis Landry has been fine. So they have a really solid offense. They're really young. And so I do think that when they added a lot of pieces last offseason, so to help their offensive line, and that seemed to really help Baker later on once their running game was established. I do think that early on this season when Nick Chubb got hurt, then that kind of hurt Baker Mayfield because they weren't as scared of Kareem Hunt running the ball. But Kareem Hunt's a better receiving back, and so I do think that Baker Mayfield will have a great season this season. But right now I have him ranked 19th. I don't know if it's because of their lack of weapons in that offense total. And so I think once Odell though comes back, I'll probably end up ranking Baker Mayfield a little bit ahead, probably in like the 14, 15 range. But as of right now, I have him ranked 19th. At number 20, I have Derek Carr. Derek Carr has been very accurate the last couple of years, throwing over 70%, completing over 70% of his passes. And I do think that he'll be a lot better with Henry Ruggs this year, and Darren Waller has always been really solid for him. So I think that Derek Carr will have a great season, but I don't think he's going to be like a top quarterback where he's going to throw for 4,000 yards and 35 touchdowns or more in a season. He's more like a 3,000 yards pass, 3,200 yards passing, and 25 touchdown kind of guy instead of 35 touchdown guy. And so I do think that hurts his fantasy value, and he's not much of a running quarterback. And so he's a solid quarterback in fantasy, but he's definitely a backup that you would want instead of a starter that you would want to have. Maybe a couple games during the season you want him to be your starter, but outside of that, he's typically a good fantasy backup quarterback, reliable, can play good when your quarterback is either on their bye week or getting hurt. And so I do think that Derek Carr will be a pretty good backup for you if you draft him in fantasy. But there's other guys that I have ahead of him on the list that kind of, if they start playing really well and their offense is picking up, I think that they could be fantasy football starting quarterbacks for you. And so that's why I rank them a little bit ahead of Derek Carr. Thank you for watching. I hope you enjoyed. If you did, be sure to hit that thumbs up button, subscribe if you're new. Turn on those notifications so you get a message on YouTube whenever I post. I'll see you in the video tomorrow. I'll be talking about my 16 through 30 running backs. That's it. Hope you have a great day. I'll see you in the video tomorrow. Peace.